I'm glad to see y'all here because we're gonna get into it. Season 20 weapon tuning preview. This is from Chris Proctor. He's the senior design lead. He does a lot of the weapon stuff. And let's get into it. When playing on console, your reticle will turn red when it's over an enemy that's inside your weapon's effective range. This is a useful visual aid that we wanted to be global for a while, so we also enabled this on PC. In a future season, we'll be making this color customizable, similar to the base reticle color. Nice. We have a red reticle now on PC when an enemy is in our effective range of whatever weapon we're using. That's cool. Linear fusion rifles. You probably saw this coming. Linear fusion rifles outperform other heavy weapons for boss damage by a wide margin. Yeah, they're great at DPS, they have a lot of reserves, so makes sense. At the same time, exotic heavy linear fusion rifles don't do enough to justify using one over legendary, so they're not affected by this nerf. Yeah, because Sleeper Simulant hasn't really been widely used since, like, I want to say Crown of Sorrow. Like, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of Sleeper Simulants since then. Reduced damage versus champions, mini bosses, and vehicles by 15%. So, let's turn the music down a bit. A little too loud. That's alright, you know? Linear fusion rifles are super strong. They're still going to be strong after this. You think about firing line or Vorpal weapon. I don't like Vorpal weapon that much, but there are ways to mitigate that change. You know, of course, everything's going to be brought down by that 15%, but I don't see them getting horrible. But let's go through the notes. We might see something getting buffed up to a huge extent. Machine guns have been buffed a few times over the past year or so, but only in PvE. We've opted to increase their base damage a little, which makes them more forgiving to use in PvP. The buff also applies across the board in PvE. PvP damage is typically the base, and PvE has multipliers on top of that. Oh. Okay. PvP damage is typically the base, and PvE has multipliers on top of that. That's something that I've never heard explicitly stated. Ever. We're also substantially increasing machine gun reserves, giving them higher uptime, particularly useful in hard content. Yeah, machine guns are getting very, very strong. Think about Xenophage now, and then how good it could be. Increased damage by about 10% with the following effects on time to kill against the Guardian with tier 6 resilience. So we're getting 0.5 second TTK on high impact, 0.47 on rapid fire frame, which is tougher to get because it fires so fast, it's kind of hard to keep it stable. An adaptive frame is still going to be 0.53. So I'm running high impact if I'm in Crucible. Increase reserve ammo by 50% at 0 inventory stat, and 20% at 100 inventory stat. Okay, so that means low reserve machine guns get a big boost, while large reserve machine guns get a smaller boost. Alright, that's fine. They still get a boost, though, so you're still going to want the large reserves. Heavy grenade launchers haven't been touched in a while and are substantially below some other heavy options for damage. On top of that, grenade launcher projectiles have travel time, a ballistic arc, and relatively small blast radius. So it can be hard to consistently land shots on a moving target, and they may hit fewer targets with the explosion that you'd expect. With this change, heavy grenade launchers should be significantly more useful in PvE and easier to use in both PvE and PvP. Increased damage versus champions, mini bosses, and vehicles by 20%. Cascade point. You know, Bungie does this where they introduce a perk that you're like, oh my god, this perk is really good, but this weapon archetype is a little weak. And then next season, you should have farmed for that cascade point. Miners by 40%. Wow, that's a lot of damage because grenade launchers aren't like awful right now, but they are like in comparison. But with the linear nerf and this buff, they're going to be really good. And the miners by 40% is also super nice. Improved projectile collision, making it slightly easier to land hits. Increased blast radius by 1 meter. Parasite is unaffected, it does huge damage already. Wow. I'm excited for that. The new shotgun reticle showed the correct spread pattern, but in its shipping form, the size of the reticle wasn't affected by the current spread angle, which will change if you jump or with magazine options like smoothbore. This change should make the reticle accurate in most ways at 85 degrees field of view. A change to make this accurate for all FOV options will come in a future season. Nice, that's cool. Related note, the Legend of Acreus hipfire reticle is now a bit more representative of its very large spread angle. Okay. I was wondering if they were going to make changes to this, because the kinetic weapons change. I was thinking, are they going to make every weapon either stasis or strand in the kinetic slot? Or what are they going to do? Because, and if they do that, kinetic and stasis weapons are just going to be better. Like, the stasis weapons, yeah, were straight up better. Let's read it, because they're already saying what I'm saying. Kinetic slot weapons have always done 5% more damage versus unshielded targets in PvE. This meant that the kinetic slot stasis weapons were straight up better, with extra functionality and no downside, because they had an element, so they were good against shielded targets, and they had the kinetic slots, so they were just good against unshielded targets. We wanted to give players more of a reason to run kinetic damage type weapons. So instead of a blanket kinetic slot damage boost, we're switching to a kinetic damage type boost based on whether your kinetic weapon uses primary or special ammo, and increase the bonus significantly. Kinetic primary damage multiplier increased from 1.05 to 1.1. Wow. A 10% damage multiplier on that. Kinetic special weapon damage multiplier increased from 1.05 to 1.15. So you do 15% more damage just by using a kinetic special. Kinetic slot stasis weapons no longer have the 5% damage bonus versus unshielded targets in PvE. So now they still have the 5% damage bonus versus shielded targets. There's also a kinetic damage type perk coming in Lightfall. Well, we have no idea what that is, so who knows. But I think that's a good change overall. That's fine. I think that's not bad at all. I also don't know why you would ever use a special weapon in the energy slot again. Also, Witherhoard is even better now. That's what that means. Witherhoard's just... I don't know why you wouldn't equip Witherhoard every single time. Going into Lightfall, I'm running Witherhoard, I'm running Callous Mini Tool, and I'm running a heavy grenade launcher, preferably solar, and that's all. Yeah, I don't know. You're betting kinetic perks something like stranded tile rounds, true. Just like many players, we've wanted exotic weapons that have a strong theming around their damage type to use the real Subclass 3.0 Verbs. And Lightfall's longer development and playtest cycle gave us the opportunity to add Subclass Verbs to many of the top picks. Our goal with adding Subclass 3.0 Verbs to this is to grant these weapons additional functionality and let them tie into subclass builds in a more meaningful way. In most cases, this is also, or is paired with, a hefty buff. The Queenbreaker's blinding effect was underwhelming for a heavy weapon, so we've changed how that's deployed. Note that Queenbreaker was also not affected by the global damage reduction to linear fusion rifles, making it substantially stronger by comparison. Are we getting a Queenbreaker meta? Dot now chains to nearby enemies and uses Arc 3.0 blind. You're telling me it's got Jolt just on command? Hold on. It just has Jolt on command? What? That's insane. Ruinous Effigy feels very voidy, and slamming the Transmutation Sphere was an obvious place to put an additional effect. Transmutation Sphere slam attack now suppresses. That's awesome. I might be using Ruinous Effigy on my Void Titan. Like, that's really good. The Leviathan's Breath buff from a few seasons back inadvertently reduced the PvP damage enough that it could no longer one-hit kill players in their super with a headshot. We fixed that, but also added Volatile and increased the damage versus champions substantially to highlight this anti-champion role. Wow, now applies Volatile on perfect draw impact. Increased damage from 396 to 442. This allows it to once again one-hit kill all supers in PvP. Increased damage versus champions by 30%. You're getting free Volatile on Leviathan's Breath, which is good because we need more Volatile in the game, and in my opinion. Like, Gyrfalcons is one of the most accessible ways to access Volatile, and I need more. 1000 Voices was briefly a top pick in Season 14, but has been eclipsed by other options since then. We wanted to lean even more into a chain of solar explosions by adding Scorch. Yeah, Leviathan's is getting that Wish Under treatment. And with the global heavy weapon changes, it's also a strong option. If you have Ember of Ashes equipped, landing a full burst on a single target will trigger an ignition immediately. Exact results may vary depending on whether other players are also scorching a target. Each explosion now applies 10 plus 5 with Ember of Ashes Scorch attacks. Oh my gosh, 1000 Voices is about to be so insane. Scorches and Ignitions on a boss are really good. as JR knows. I see a lot of I see in my mind's eye a lot of Starfire Protocol users. Why wouldn't you just throw on that 1K voices at this point? Like, you're already scorching. Your 1K voices is gonna proc both of your fusion grenades back, like 100% with all that damage you're doing in an empowering rift. Like, what are you thinking here? Because that's what I'm thinking. If you use that. Sunshot was a top candidate for applying solar subclass verbs, and the explosions are the clear place to add to. Explosion on kill now applies 10 plus 5 scorch stacks. Huge. Flare slants always had a burn effect, so it was an obvious change to switch this to Scorch. Perfect 5th shots now apply 40 plus 20 Scorch stacks instead of a custom burn. That's really good. That's really good. BRB gotta learn Riven, true. Two-Tailed Fox had tough competition as a heavy exotic weapon, but now it's the only weapon that can apply subclass verbs from multiple damage types without extra steps. Solar Rocket now applies 60 plus 30 Scorch stacks instead of burn. The Void Rocket already applies Suppress, and the Catalyst completes the trifecta. What does the Caddy do? Oh, wait, is the Caddy even out? Is that a new Catalyst that they're talking about? What the hell? Are they gonna blind? No, they're not gonna blind. They're gonna jolt. They're gonna jolt, right? They have to. No, they can't jolt. That would be insane. I don't know. I don't know. Prometheus Lens utility has utility with its Solar 3.0 reworked, but we wanted to give it something more spectacular on kills in addition. Added the incandescent perk to the Catalyst. Wow. Grand Overture's latest buff, increasing the missile damage by 50%, brought it up plenty. It just needed its blind updated to tie into Arc 3.0. Switched the Catalyst to use Arc Blind. Cool. We're starting to experiment with hipfire weapon reticles, conveying more information, and use the Manticore as a test bed for this. I have not used the Manticore yet, because I wasn't 1590 yet, but I could now probably pull it, and it would be 1590, so I need to do that. You can expect to see more weapon type or exotic weapon functionality showing up in hipfire reticles in Season 21 and beyond. Oh, added a reticle element to the Manticore showing current stacks of anti-grav repulsor. That's awesome. That's really cool. So they were talking about this coming season. Okay. I thought they I thought they were saying that this was already in the game, but no. With Strand coming to the game along with the new Strand weapon damage perk, we've updated a couple of older perks. Osmosis now works with Strand. Elemental Capacitor now has the following effect when using a Strand subclass, plus 20 airborne effectiveness, which makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Rewind rounds will be appearing on more weapons in Lightfall, but was custom built to only work with a Vault of Glass weapon set. We've tweaked it to be more general purpose. That's fine. That's cool. Eager Edge has had some bugs that needed addressing in a previous release. We've now taken time to do a more complete rework. Deactivates correctly after a single melee swing, reduced the base lunge distance buff from 2 to 1.8, reduced airborne lunge distance penalty from 25% to 20%. Okay. The enhanced perk now increases lunge distance slightly back up to 2. Oh, so they buffed Ring. No longer deactivates it, yeah. They buffed him. That's good for him. Blinding grenades on grenade launchers don't do arc damage, so it's not appropriate for them to trigger Arc 3.0 blind effects. We don't feel the need to change the disorienting effect, though, so we've updated the name to overlap less. Renamed blinding grenades to disorienting grenades. That's cool. I'm fine with that. Vice Stinger is one of the most desirable origin traits in the game, particularly, but not only on linear fusion rifles, to the point where it makes it hard for non-Vice weapons to compete. It needed some adjustment. With this change, it's still valuable, but more in line with other origin traits. This was typically a full reload when the perk activated. It now reloads 25% of the magazine. It's a tough hit, but it makes sense. And with all this other power they're giving us, yeah. Is it going to be that bad? Probably not. And also, this was good on linear fusion rifles and funnel web. So, like, what are we going to do? With Fire and Forget, it'll be proccing insanely anyway. That's true. That's true. We're already hard at work on Seasons 21 and 22, and some of the changes we're making include a full auto melee accessibility setting, which will apply to all forms of melee, a pass over weapon type, and exotic weapon hipfire reticles, including increasing how visibly they change even at high FOV, and adding features like charge meters and exotic perk counters. That's really good. We need that. We've also got balance changes in the work, but it's a little too early to get into them. We'll have more information to share post Lightfall. Well, my takeaways from this, go farm some cascades. If you don't have Queenbreakers, use all the exotic engrams you have to try and get it. Try and get that shit immediately. And yeah, Witherhoard, like constantly, I would say. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't at this point. It's just even better than it's already been. Also, Ruinous Effigy sounds really fun. Leviathan's Breath sounds really fun. 1,000 Voices. There's like a lot of stuff here that I think is going to make the game even more diverse in terms of build crafting and not seeing the same things being run by every single person in the game, which is always a good thing. Making people find an identity and adhere to it and like change it based on like what they want their identity to be, it's awesome. I think that's a good thing for the game. I really like that. Let's see. Yeah, overall I think this was a great blog post. I appreciate this one, and I think that, you know, we're getting close to, we're probably going to get a little swap tomorrow. It's probably going to have some additional information with the cadence they've been giving us information so far. But yeah, you can probably expect me to go live tomorrow to talk about that. For now, though, let me know what you think, and if you wanna hang out and talk about this stuff, put !LFG in the in the chat to get the link to my Discord channel to talk about this further, to play with us, to do raids. We play PvP, Iron Banner. You want to get that shader this week? I'll play some Iron Banner with you, whatever. We can do it all. We'll do raids, we'll do dungeons, we'll do everything to get ready for next season. Bounty farming, which if you want to do together, we can. But yeah, I'm excited for next season. I really am. It's gonna be really good. They have to be, right? It's gonna be three-tailed fox. Like, it's gotta be. And the catalyst completes the trifecta? Like, what are they gonna put on it? Like, I mean, they could put slow. Like, they could put slow on it. Like, I didn't think about stasis, but it's solar void, and it's gotta be arc. They're not gonna put stasis on it, or strand. It's gotta be like an arc blind or an arc jolt. Am I missing another keyword? Like, it's gonna be crazy. Strand type rocket, that would be insane. I don't know. I really don't know. I will say I have a thought. Like, you know when you throw grenades and you can shoot someone else's grenade, depending on what projectile it is? Do you think you can grapple onto that? Since it's a projectile, like it's actually like a projectile, and you can grapple onto people that are thunder crashing. I mean, you think you can grapple onto grenades as they're swinging through the air? Like, that would be insane. Yeah, overall, I'm super excited for this. I think a meta shift is always a good thing, especially when it gets linear fusion rifle. Yeah, it's just the same meta like that we've been using for a while. It's getting kind of old. And obviously, we weren't going to switch back to rockets being the oppressive majority. So I'm excited for a heavy grenade launcher meta. I think grenade launchers are a little more, I don't know, they're forgiving and they're also a little more skillful at the same time. Like, if you're doing like full court, for example, you have to be far back. You have to kind of aim that shit. I don't know. I'm excited for this. I really am. And I feel like there's a lot of variety that we have chances for. Machine guns are going to be really good too. You're right. And yeah, I mean, I could see a Xenophage heavy grenade launcher meta coming, and it's going to be dope. It's going to be really good. Yeah, I think I'm going to end the stream for now. Yeah, you'll have a good day.